Hello friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joycey Joy and today we will be discussing about the Draft Seeds Bill of 2019. So today we will be discussing what is the current affair related to the Draft Seeds Bill. Secondly, we will see what are the key provisions of the Draft Seeds Bill. We will also discuss about what are the major shortfalls of this bill and how to address these shortfalls, and we will also discuss the related issues with this topic. So let us start with the current affair. Let us see what is the current affair. The government has invited public feedback on the recently released Draft Seeds Bill of 2019. Now, what is meant by this draft bill on seeds? So this is a draft bill. This has not been presented in the parliament. The bill is now drafted and this is made public for the public feedback or the public opinion. So government is seeking public opinion on this bill, on the draft bill, and once the public opinion is collected, then this will be presented in the parliament. Now the bill is on seeds. So we will see what it is. So the bill actually regulates the sale of the seeds in the country. So this is the bill about, and we will be discussing about it in detail when we discuss about the key provisions of the bill. So the current affair is that the draft bill on seeds, it is given to the public in order to collect the public feedback. So government has invited the public feedback on this draft bill, and once the public feedback is collected, the government will finalize the bill and present it in the parliament. So let us see what are the key provisions of this bill, beginning with the aim of the bill. So the aim of the Draft Seeds Bill is to replace the Seeds Act of 1966. So we will see that this is an age-old act. The act was passed in the year 1966 and now it is 2019. So over this period of years, agriculture has undergone tremendous revolutions, tremendous changes. So, in order to cope up with, to comply with the changes that has taken place in the agricultural sector, the government is planning to replace the already existing Seeds Act, which was initiated in the year 1966. So, the objective of this bill is to replace the Seeds Act of 1966. So, now, with this draft bill, the government is actually seeking to regulate the quality of the seeds sold. So, to regulate the quality of the seeds that is sold in the market. Now, all the varieties of the seeds for sale should be registered. So, this is the first provision. That is, all varieties of seeds that are for the sale, they have to be compulsorily registered. Now, secondly, the seeds are also required to meet certain prescribed minimum standards. So, seeds should adhere to certain minimum standards. And this is also to ensure the quality of the seeds. So, by complying to minimum standards, at least some quality can be assured. Now, regarding transgenic varieties of seeds, the transgenic varieties of seeds can be registered only after the applicant has obtained a clearance under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. So, in case of transgenic varieties of seeds, the seeds can be registered. Registration is compulsory, but the registration can happen only after the applicant has obtained a clearance under the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. Now, coming to the fourth provision. The label of a seed container has to indicate some specified information. So, the label of the seed container, that is the packet or the container of the seed, has to indicate some specified information. Now, the fifth provision talks about certain exemptions given to farmers. Let us see what are the exemptions given to the farmers. So, the bill exempts farmers from the requirement of compulsory registration. We have seen that it is mandatory under the draft bill for compulsory registration. Now, the farmers are exempted from compulsory registration. Also, the farmers are allowed to sow or exchange or sell their farm seeds and planting material. So, without registration, the farmers can freely sow the seeds or exchange their seeds or sell their seeds. So, exemption has been given to the farmers. And also, the farmers do not have to conform to the prescribed minimum limits of germination physical purity, genetic purity, etc. But the registered seeds, the other registered seeds have to comply with all these minimum standards. Even though the farmers are exempted from all these provisions and compliances, farmers cannot sell their seeds under a brand name. So the farmers cannot commercialize. This is what it is meant. So the farmers cannot commercialize it in the sense that they cannot sell it under a brand name, but they are free to sow or exchange or sell their seeds without registration but not under any brand name. So farmers are not allowed to commercialize. This is because if the farmers are given complete exemption, including to sell under a brand name, then this will provide a loophole for the other industrialists. So this can act as a loophole. So the industrialists can register themselves as farmers and then under a brand name they can sell their seeds. So to avoid this to happen, the farmers can sell their seeds or exchange their seeds but not under any brand name. This is to avoid the commercialization. So this is important. The exemption is also important here. So these are the provisions provided in the draft bill. Now moving on, let us come to the shortfalls in the draft bill. The first one is the bill contains provisions for the central government and the state governments to introduce the capping of prices. So this is one shortfall. Both the central government and the state government, both of them can introduce caps. That is the maximum limit or the maximum price at which the seeds can be sold. So this is called capping. So this can be done by both the central government as well as the state government. And second thing, it seems that the government is willfully ignoring the lessons learned from Shetkari Sanghadana. So Shetkari Sanghadana was a civil disobedience protest. We will come back to it. So this was a civil disobedience protest conducted by the farmers themselves. And let us see in brief what was this protest all about. Let us see in brief about the Shetkari Sanghadana. So Shetkari Sanghadana was that more than 1,000 farmers participated in this Shetkari Sanghadana, in the civil disobedience protest, and this movement was held in the Akholi Jahangir village. So the village name is Akholi Jahangir village, and this is in the district of Akola district in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. So this civil disobedience protest was held or was conducted in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, and the reason for this civil disobedience was that the government had imposed ban on the GM crops. So the reason for this protest was the ban on the GM crops. So what happened was that the government had imposed a ban on GM crops, and the government said that carrying or storing or selling or even sowing of GM crops will attract a fine of rupees 1 lakh and also 5 years imprisonment. So this was the government order. But farmers, they outrightly defied the ban in order to cultivate HTBT. HTBT is herbicide tolerant BT cotton and BT brinjal. So HTBT means herbicide tolerant BT brinjal and BT cotton. So they outrightly defied the ban and cultivated this HTBT, and they sowed genetically modified, that is GM HTBT cotton on a 2-acre plot owned by a local farmer. And this was conducted, this cultivation of the GM crop was conducted as a protest against the ban which was decided by the government. So the police was also present in the occasion, but they did not take any action against the farmers. And this Shetkari Sanghadana, this is actually a farmers body. It is an association of the farmers. So the farmers body or the association of the farmers, Shetkari Sanghadana, they decided to take the movement across the state. And the reason was that this association, Shetkari Sanghadana, they felt that the ban on the GM crops was unfair on farmers. This is because the GM crops will increase the productivity of the farmers. The agricultural productivity will be increased, and also they believed that the GM crops did not do any harm to the environment. It was not proven that the GM crops will do some harm to the environment. So the farmers' side was that the farmers are already in trouble because of poverty, because they are getting very low prices for their produce. So GM crops was one solution that they can increase their productivity, they can increase their production, thereby earn maximum revenue. And also there is no evidences to prove that GM crops are harmful to the environment. So farmers claimed that the ban on the GM crops was unfair because the farmers were already undergoing poverty, and as of now it was not found that this will do any environmental harm also. So they said that it was the vested interest of the politicians or the government that they were opposing the use of BT cotton and BT brinjal. So this was the claim of the farmers. So this is all about the Shetkari Sanghadana. So this is a farmers association and they protested against the ban on GM crops, genetically modified crops. Now let us come back to our topic. So the shortfall is that the government has now ignored the lessons of Shetkari Sanghadana. So we need to understand what were the lessons taught by the Shetkari Sanghadana. And as we will come back to it. But before that, as a consequence of this, Monsanto is a company that produces GM crops. So Monsanto, they withdraw one of the most advanced GM offerings from the approval. So the lessons learned from Shetkari Sanghadana protest was that the farmers are well aware of the benefits of the GM crops. So first thing, the farmers very well know what are the benefits of using the genetically modified crops or GM technology. Second one, the farmers were even willing to pay a premium as long as the GM seeds deliver the promised increase in yield. So they were even ready to pay the premium. This is because they were so sure of earning more profits. Now, third thing, companies like the Monsanto, the companies who develop this GM crops, so these companies, they invest heavily in R&D, that is research and development, to develop these projects or these products. Now, the fourth thing is that the use of genetically modified crops, they do not only increase the profit margins of the farmers, but also at the same time they will address the climate change issues as well. This is because the climate change effects are threatening the agriculture. So definitely the GM crops, they are technologically modified crops so that they can very well address the consequences of climate change. So it is not only profits but also in terms of the climate change adaptation, these crops are very significant. So any move to discourage seed tech will be anti-farmer. So this was not considered by the government. So any move in order to discourage the seed technology, this would act as anti-farmer because the profit margins will increase with the use of GM technology seeds, and also the farmers will be able to adapt to climate change. So these are the factors. Now again, disincentivizing the seed tech companies will have the same effect that the price caps in the pharma and medical devices have had. So when price cap was introduced in medical devices and pharma companies, what happened? They started producing less. So there was lesser production and thereby the supply was interrupted. So there was lesser supply in the market. So what happened? Then there was no other choice but to increase the prices. So the same thing can happen here also. So if the seed tech companies, if they are disincentivized, so they will also cut down their supply and there will be shortage of seeds in the market. So this is what will happen. So this issue was not addressed in the bill. And also, if we lose access to advanced GM technology crops, that is genetically modified technology crops, then this will seriously undermine the Indian agriculture as well. So these shortfalls were not addressed in the bill, and these are the things that the bill needs to take care of. So this is the draft seed bill, and now the bill is with the public for taking its opinion, for collecting public feedback, and once public feedback is collected, the government will finalize it and will present it in the parliament and legislation will take place. So you can find the PDF of this lecture on our website www.studyiq.com. Also, if you want to know or if you want to read the entire draft of this bill, you can find it in prslegislature.com. Also, you can follow my Facebook page for more video updates. You can write to me at joycey.studyiq@gmail.com for any of your queries and clarifications. Thank you.